Welcome back to the Shreveport Connection, and I'm going to be giving you the WWE news first, and then the rest of the story will be on WWE tapings for tonight with NXT Superstars and SmackDown and the Dark Match main event. As promised from last night, I'm going to play you the Triple H movie trailer that Batista was supposedly the star in, but since he left WWE, then he didn't get character. The movie was originally titled Killing Karma, and Triple H's role was originally planned for Batista before he decided to leave WWE. Triple H stars as AJ, as an ex-convict who had been locked up for 13 years, who killed his stepfather, who was abusing his mother. AJ comes home and must protect his family and his friend Jack, Michael Rappaport's part in the movie, after an accidental shooting leads to the Mafia coming for them. And this trailer the trailer lasts about 4 minutes 15 seconds. So bear with me on this, and I'm going to try and play it very shortly as I pull my other laptop to show you the video.
Hi, AJ. You dated my mom in high school? Yeah, you dated mom in high school, but it wasn't weird. We were like the Three Musketeers.
I don't know if you can hear it, but
And now I got
it's as loud as a laptop will get with their small speakers.
This guy just did 13 years ago. It's okay. And you know what? You should wish him good fortune. That wasn't supposed to happen. You didn't put your back in. It's a story about a bunch of lives intersecting and how they all play out. AJ gets out of jail. He's my best friend. I'm a member of the undead because of him. You follow? His life is in shambles. The girl that he was in love with is now married to his best friend, the guy he's grown up with like his brother. They were into some organized crime. He doesn't want to be involved in that anymore.
Okay, well, hold it still.
You, sir, are going to do one thing before this is over. You're going to clean this whole thing up.
It's not just an action movie. It's got humor and heart and characters. Were you at the fun part?
It's very much in sort of the tradition of odd, quirky character pieces. But get out of the car! I'm not getting out of the car! It's a love story. It's camouflaged and mask. It's a great stuff. But it's a love story between three people.
I love you.
They get ready to. Good guys, bad guys, chasing money. There's pickles involved. Don't make pickles. If you make pickles, I'll flip the burgers, and all we need to do is get someone to make the special sauce. There's comedy, and there's some more pickles. Actually, the pickles didn't get paid. Pickles are a huge part of our story. I've had to eat about 15 pickles in a row. There's fun. You guys should try to eat them with the pickles. I had them on my burgers. Juliet, I like this with the version. Two pickles.
When I was younger, I ended up eating 2 full jars of enormous pickles. And I basically OD'd on them because pickles, the smell of pickles makes me, like, seriously, sick to my stomach.
She had to do like scene after scene where she's just eating these pickles.
I'll be eating a pickle, and I won't swallow it, and then I'll turn the corner, and there's, like, a huge, like, trash can for me to, like, spit it into. Oh, my goodness.
It was dreadful.
No! They're evil.
Good Lord, it's good. Well, there's certain strokes of
Ew, pickles.
One of the things that happened immediately was when Michael Rappaport showed up on set and Triple H was here, they had this immediate bond, like a couple of buddies or brothers. They were joking around and kind of tell jokes and just having a good time. He just has a presence about him. This is his size and his look and his ability to use his physical presence. They have a really good time together, and it transcends, I think, onto the screen. They've developed an instant closeness. Always achieve your earliest pleasure work. Your earliest just the people that you work with. Their work is wonderful work. You enjoy it. Jared was awesome. It's getting to be on screen with a legend and just standing across the desk and watching him emotionally do a scene
Oh, you got a little slapping action.
Just saying. It's just an entertaining story. The whole family's back together again. And I'm in it for a shirt off. The LLCB.
And that was the video. And now back for the rest of the news. According to a fan in attendance from last night's Raw in Indianapolis, Indiana, it was not Andy Levine who lost to the returning Brodus Clay in the dark match. Apparently the wrestler's name is Alex Silva, who again wrestled tonight, one of tonight's dark matches, and we hope to have confirmation later, which I did get confirmation, as it was Silva. Chris Jericho wrote on following on Twitter tonight, or actually last night, whenever I got this news, after CM Punk mentioning his name Raw. He's quoted by saying, "Everyone is so excited at CM Punk mentioning me on Raw. Newsflash, I don't give a shit. Mind your own damn business and stop flipping me off, Punk. Or stop ripping me off, Punk." Unquote. WWE superstar David Hart Smith turned 25 years old today. Tonight's WWE SmackDown and NXT tapings will take place from the Rupp Arena in Lexington, Kentucky. My best friend is there. My internet best friend. I've never met him in person, but we're pretty close online and on the PS3 network. Confirmed for tonight's show an appearance by Triple H, who did appear but not on TV. Since I read the results, he did appear, and I'll give that to you later on. Scheduled Mark Henry versus Sheamus. That will be scheduled at the next pay-per-view. Randy Orton versus Christian in a street fight was advertised locally as your dark match main event, and it happened, but I'll give you that to you at the end. Zack Ryder indicated on Twitter that Colt Cabana was backstage at last night's Raw from Indianapolis. Well, guess what? He was not only backstage at tonight's taping, he was even wrestled in a dark match, which I'll give that to you later. And speaking of Raw, what happened after Raw last night? Dark match main event. Last night's Raw saw CM Punk and John Cena fight to a double disqualification in a very short match as The Miz and R-Truth interfered. And noted earlier, it was not tough enough winner. Andy Levine lost to Brodus Clay in the Raw dark match last night. It was a local wrestler named Alex Silva. Silva is from Montreal and has been wrestling in OVW, but was billed last night from Indianapolis, thanks to PH Chartrin for help with that. Sources report that CM Punk can directly be credited with Zack Ryder getting more TV exposure over the past few weeks. Speaking of Ryder, he confirmed on Twitter that he's working tonight's SmackDown tapings. And yes, he's wrestling tonight on SmackDown. Returning in the role of Teddy Long's assistant, again, Ryder's brief win streak ended on Raw last night as he and Santino Marella lost to David Otunga. But that's a tag match and not a singles match, so his winning streak could technically still be in existence. WWE's website made a point to note that Ryder's streak has ended, but not in singles competition. Yoshitatsu revealed on Twitter today that his birthday took place Monday. He turned 34 years old. Happy birthday belated to Yoshi. Maurice did not participate in last night's number one contender, Divas Battle Royal. Why? Because she's injured. She had to have a surgery. And she revealed on Twitter that she was unable to participate in the match because she is undergoing abdominal hernia surgery. She will be sidelined indefinitely. Maurice wrote, "Hello guys, I won't be going physical for a while. I'm getting abdominal hernia surgery." Unquote. And her, I guess occasionally boyfriend, Alex Riley, Kevin Kiley, I sent him a note about it and asked him for confirmation on that, because I was reading it through dirt sheets. Okay, Tough Enough contestant Jeremiah Riggs told Around the Octagon website that WWE officials informed him last week that they will not be offering him a contract. "I was informed yesterday that WWE isn't going to use me," Riggs said. "2 weeks ago, I was invited to go to Tampa to try out for FCW, and from what they gathered, they loved my personality, but they said I was only average in the ring and said I have a bad attitude and carry myself like I had something to prove. I told them that if I'm average, I'm doing pretty damn good, considering I've only done this for 2 months, and all these other guys have been wrestling for 10, 15, 20 years. If I can go to average in several weeks, imagine what I can do in a few months. And of course, I'm eager to prove myself. I was surrounded by guys who had done this for several years, and they were all wondering who this new rookie was. I had to show them I belonged." Riggs wasn't complimentary on the WWE developmental wrestlers. 90% of those guys are vanilla. They're all the same, long-haired, ponytailed, boring as can be. The day I left Tampa, I shaved my head because I didn't want to be anything like them. I'm Jeremiah Riggs from Vicksburg, Mississippi. I'm not going to be a clone. All their promos sounded the same. They're boring and play it safe. People are afraid of the truth. What do they want in a superstar? I don't need a character. I'm Jeremiah Riggs. I don't need a new name or a gimmick. WWE has a shitty developmental roster. No one stands out. They're all scared of failure, and half of them have been there for years. They are all the same and do the same stuff. Sure, they have a few guys that have potential, but they are all clones. But I'm not going to be just like everybody else, because I am myself. What are they going to do? Send me home? You can't scare someone who ain't afraid. Jeremiah was also critical on WWE Tough Enough trainer Bill DeMott. "Me and Bill were cool on the show," he said. "I heard he got a job as a scout for WWE, and I was glad to hear he was doing good for himself. He deserves it for after so long being in the business. When I was in Tampa doing my match with Orlov, Bill was praising me and talking about how good I was doing. I was doing stuff like that Luke and Andy couldn't even do. On the first try, when I walked into the FCW a few weeks ago, and he acted like he was cool to talk to me. He's changed, man. He thinks he's somebody because he was the big man on the show. I guess Hollywood went to his head. Sure, he had a mediocre wrestling career and found new life on Tough Enough. I don't give a shit. I'll whoop his fat ass. To read the full commentary, visit aroundtheoctagon.com. And what you've all been waiting for, dark match event for tonight's WWE SmackDown taping is Christian versus Randy Orton in a street fight for the World Heavyweight Championship. The arena website is also listing it. An appearance by Triple H. And Colt Cabana was defeated by Wade Barrett in the dark match at WWE SmackDown tapings in Lexington, Kentucky. According to PWTorch.com, Cabana worked for WWE as Scotty Goldman again, and his name has been dropped by his longtime friend CM Punk in the recent Raw promos. Wade Barrett beat Colt Cabana. Very interesting for a dark match. Barrett dominated in the early going, and Cabana attempted to come back, but Cabana was ultimately pinned after Wasteland. Well, the match lasted about 5 minutes. SmackDown match for Superstars airing August 4, 2011 on WWE.com. The first report was only a Divas match. Well, it was Alicia Fox defeating Caitlyn. And the second report states from Lexington, Kentucky, reported by Benjamin Tucker, PW Torch contributor and Joe Neal, PW Torch reader. After the dark match and NXT taping, the arena was fairly full, except for the upper deck of the arena, which was tarped off. First match, Alicia Fox beat Caitlyn in about 6 minutes with her scissors kick. And match number 2, Brodus Clay beat Silva, like I was saying, the guy Silva, in a squash match in about 3 to 4 minutes. And your NXT, got 2 reports again. One's a brief one. Titus O'Neil opened the show with a promo. Derek Bateman and Gary Young came out to set up a tag match for later in the show, which was your main event. Well, Vladimir Kozlov beat JTG in the first match. Backstage, Tyson Kidd cut a promo on Yoshitatsu. And then the final was Matt Striker and Titus O'Neil versus Derek Young and Derek Bateman with AJ and Hornswoggle on commentary. Matt Striker and Titus O'Neil won the match. And here's a detailed report of it. This week's WWE NXT started with a video package introducing the never-ending redemption season. Heavy focus on Titus O'Neil dominating in the majority in the first 21 weeks. 2 weeks ago, things turned interesting when Bateman and Young conspired to take out Titus from the competition. Arena, Todd Grissom introduced the show and noted they're in the famous college basketball arena, Rupp Arena. Grisham then sent it to the ring for Matt Striker to introduce Titus O'Neil, who came out as Hornswoggle. Each man had a mic for this exchange. Striker asked Titus to respond to the alliance against him. Titus said he thinks it's cute, and quite honestly, he's dominated from the start to finish. He said he's not worried about them, their mamas, their grandparents, or any other family relatives. So random music interrupted to bring out D. Young and Derek Bateman, who slowly dropped a mic in front of his mouth to run down Titus. Bateman noted he beat Titus last week, which drew an unimpressed smile from Titus. As Young and Bateman entered the ring, Titus told Bateman there's no way he could beat him in singles competition without help. Young stepped up and said Titus has spent too much time pandering to the audience. Striker interjected and that is smart strategy since the fans make up 50% of the vote. Young said he doesn't care because he doesn't need a pro nor the audience because he's doing it all by himself. Bateman made some weird noise to interrupt. I guess he or something like that. He said Titus had reached the top of his ceiling and it's time for him to go. Titus said he's tired of the talking, so let's have a tag match tonight. Striker got the crowd fired up for the tag match before Young called out Striker for hyping Titus. Young and Bateman then conversed on who should be Titus's partner. Bateman said they decided to take out the most annoying, trite, and bothersome person on this whole show, and that's Matt Striker. Striker wanted nothing to do with it, but Young told him it's time for him to get taken to school. Titus stepped up in front of Striker to say they're going to put the wood to their behalf and also make it a win. Titus did his dog bark, and Striker sold concern over this match assignment. Up next is Kozlov versus JTG. In the ring, JTG come out first for the opening match of the show. JTG's music played again. Then Kozlov came out dressed like an MMA fighter mixed with Floyd Mayweather mixed with JTG mixed with Slammaster Jake. Mixed with Jacob Novak post makeover. Kozlov did the whole routine mocking JTG as they continued to stretch for time. Kozlov completely dominated early on, toying with JTG. While having fun with his costume, JTG then punched Kozlov in the mouth, which turned happy fun time into Kozlov beats up the JTG time. Kozlov knocked JTG in the corner and they cut to the break. Back from the break, JTG was in control and executed a flying drop kick. Kozlov's undershirt became torn up in the process of JTG working him over. Kozlov with some blood on his nose. Suddenly, that got a crazy look in his eyes, and that made his full comeback. Kozlov eventually finished off JTG with the Iron Curtain for the pin and the win. JTG's music hit, and Kozlov did some dancing to celebrate. He wasn't done as Kozlov grabbed Grissom's cell phone ringside. Kozlov, with big MMA gloves on, managed to take a picture of himself, playing on JTG's lifeless body. Winner in about 7 minutes 40 seconds. It was what it is with Cos. As Greg Park said in his real-time Twitter stream, it's WWE's version of trying to make Lance Storm or Dean Malenko seem interesting. I guess it beats Kozlov versus Hunter for 15 boring minutes in the ring. Then they showed the Raw rebound, Punk, why he returned, Triple H playing the suit role, Hunter booking Cena versus Punk at SummerSlam, and the eventual lame conclusion to Raw, which Punk seemingly like just another guy trading musical numbers with Cena. And your announcers, Grisham and William Regal, discussed the Cena Punk match, and Grisham slipped into the standard pop culture reference of the show that ESPN is talking about in this match. Regal predicted Punk will win. And back in the arena, Tyson Kidd's music hit to bring out Tyson Kidd for a promo to get his heat back after losing the pole match to Yoshi Tatsu last week. After a replay of Kidd's post-match attack on Yoshi, the crowd booed Kidd, who told them that they should be on their feet applauding him for eliminating Yoshi's music, Yoshi's toys, and Yoshi himself. Kidd said he comes from a long line of respected competitors, including Brian Pillman, British Bulldog, and Bret Hart. Kidd said that they all succeeded through hard work and sacrifice, not worshipping action figures. In his WWE, there is no room for playing with dolls or Yoshi Tatsu. In my WWE, there's only room for Tyson Kidd, he said. Regal said he's on the verge of being a huge star in WWE. Up next was Titus and Striker against D. Young and D. Bateman. In ring, random music sounding like trash can lids slamming together brought out Bateman and Young for the main event. Hornswoggle's music then brings out Titus, flanked by Hornswoggle and AJ. Swoggle and AJ were costumed to look like 10-year-old Jack and Jill. Matt Striker then came out dressed like he hasn't wrestled in 4 years. Titus worked against his fellow rookies for the first 90 seconds before Striker tagged in and aggressively went after Bateman. Regal said it's an old thing where you always bring your gear to the building because you never know. Striker executed a dropkick as Grisham knocked Striker's win-loss record. Meanwhile, Hornswoggle wanted a sip from the 7-Eleven cup sitting on the announce desk. Swoggle then grunted and moaned, according to Grisham, and Grisham suggested Swoggle could be a jockey because he's so small. Regal noted he's a bit flummoxed. Eh? Swoggle asked. Grisham mercifully went to commercial with Bateman on the floor following a clothesline from Titus. Back from the break, Swoggle and AJ were playing games with food, and Regal tried to get them to leave him alone. Meanwhile, Striker and Young traded holds as Striker tried to turn back the clock. The heels then settled into an extended beating on Striker, while taunting Titus in the process. The crowd became angered as Regal noted the lactic acid is starting to build up in Striker to slow him down. Grisham then added he saw Striker put down 3 pieces of chocolate cake at the catering table earlier today. The announcers eventually threw a question AJ's way, since they were both sitting at the announcer's table, but cut her off when Striker nearly scored a sudden pin. Before Darren Young cut him off again, AJ kept talking as Swoggle looked on with puppy dog eyes. Regal asked them if they needed the number to his therapist. Well, 10 minutes, 25 seconds in the match, Striker finally made the hot tag to Titus, who cleaned house with clotheslines over and over again. Titus then executed a power slam on Young for a 2 count, as Young visibly called a spot mid-cover. The action broke down moments later. Then Young found himself in harm's way, taking the sky-high bomb from Titus for the pin and the win. Ringside Swoggle and AJ clapped it up while Titus hugged it out with Striker in the ring. All four then celebrated in the ring, and Regal said all the kids are overjoyed at this joyous occasion. Grisham said it's like the finish of a Lifetime movie. Greatest line ever. The four continued to celebrate in the ring as the show ended. So Titus and Striker win at the 11 minute and 18 second mark. Oh, NXT. Regal made this watchable with his latest dose of superior commentary. Nothing on the show matters, and yet they continue to stall for time until the next elimination conclusion of the show. And your SmackDown TV tapings results from tonight's taping for Friday, August the 5th. Again, reported by Benjamin Tucker, PW Torch contributor, and Joe Neal, PW Torch reader. After the dark match, NXT taping, and Superstar taping, it was time for the main show. SmackDown started right away with Sheamus versus Great Khali, and an announcement of Sheamus versus Mark Henry at SummerSlam. Match number 1, Sheamus beat Great Khali. Khali dominated the early portion of the match, and Sheamus eventually won with a Brogue Kick. Not as bad as you think. Match number 2, Natalya beat AJ by submission with a sharpshooter. Natalya then turned heel with a post-match attack on AJ at ringside. She said, "Beth Phoenix, I'm with you. The days of cute divas are over." Ryder with a State of the Showski address to come later. Match number 3, Daniel Bryan beat Tyson Kidd by submission. Wade Barrett was on commentary. Kidd put Bryan in a sharpshooter, but Bryan calls a rope break, then calls Kidd to submit. Ryder comes out to address the crowd next, and Ezekiel Jackson came out to question Ryder about the handicap match last week. Rhodes and DiBiase then came out. Ryder tried to book Jackson versus DiBiase, but Teddy Long came out and said to Ryder, "You are not assistant general manager. You are my assistant. Instead of making a match, you're in one." Versus Jackson with Cody and DiBiase banned from ringside. Match number 4, Intercontinental Champion Ezekiel Jackson beat Zack Ryder in a non-title match it was about a 4-minute match. Backstage, Teddy Long was seduced by NXT 3's Aksana, now with dark hair. So she makes her SmackDown debut. During a commercial, Triple H came out to relieve some stress by pedigreeing Zack Ryder. Match number 5, Mark Henry squashed Vladimir Kozlov. Afterwards, he crushed Kozlov's leg, but Sheamus came out to prevent further punishment. Backstage, Sheamus cut a promo on Mark Henry ahead of their SummerSlam match. Match number 6, the WWE Tag Champions, the Nexus, Michael McGillicuddy and David Otunga, and JTG in a 6-man beat the Usos with Trent Beretta in the 6-man tag match. Very quick match. I think it lasted 3 or 4 minutes. Well, Johnny Curtis debuted on SmackDown next week, and it's quoted by saying, "Writing is on the wall." I guess they had a little picture on the wall, and drawing and said "Writing on the wall." World Heavyweight Champion Christian was interviewed about Randy Orton when R-Truth came in to talk about conspiracies. Match number 7, and it's your main event. World Heavyweight Champion Christian and R-Truth beat Randy Orton and John Morrison when Christian pinned Orton. Decent main event from the results. And your dark match main event from SmackDown. World Heavyweight Champion Christian defeated Randy Orton in a street fight to retain the world title. Usual post-show finish with Cody and Ted distracting Orton to give Christian the win with a spear. And to close out the show, Randy eventually got back up and hit the RKO on all the guys. Wow, a one-man RKO machine, I guess. And that ends your tapings for this week on WWE. Thanks, and see y'all next week, or actually Sunday after TNA's pay-per-view.